Zeus's Thunderbolt, the most iconic weapon in all of Greek mythology. Forged by the Cyclopes, three giant one-eyed smiths, and given to Zeus during the war against the Titans. A single throw could shatter mountains and incinerate armies. Zeus used it to overthrow his father, Kronos, and claim dominion over the heavens. Every other god had a weapon. Zeus had the one that made all the others irrelevant. Poseidon's Trident. Also forged by the Cyclopes, the Trident gave Poseidon command over every ocean, storm, and earthquake. When he struck the ground, cities fell. When he struck the sea, tidal waves swallowed fleets whole. It wasn't just a weapon of destruction. It was absolute control over every body of water on Earth. Zeus ruled the sky. Poseidon ruled everything beneath it. Hades' Helm of Darkness. The third gift of the Cyclopes. Unlike his brother's weapons, this one didn't destroy, it erased. The helm made its wearer invisible to mortals, gods, and titans alike. During the Titanomachy, Hades walked unseen onto the battlefield and dismantled the Titan's defenses from within. Zeus got the glory, Poseidon got the fear. Hades got the silence. And that was the most dangerous of all. Athena's Aegis. Part shield, part weapon, and entirely terrifying. It bore the face of a Gorgon at its center, and anyone who looked upon it was paralyzed with fear. Athena carried it into the war against the giants, and even the most powerful among them froze. Later, she mounted Medusa's actual head onto it. The Aegis didn't just protect her, it weaponized terror itself. Apollo's Silver Bow. A bow that could strike from distances no other weapon could reach. His arrows didn't just kill, they brought plague and sudden, painless death. During the Trojan War, Apollo fired into the Greek camp, and within days, soldiers were dying by the hundreds from disease. No shield could block it. No army could fight what they couldn't see. Apollo didn't need to be close. That was the whole point. Artemis's Golden Bow. Forged by the Cyclopes at her request when she was still a child, made of gold, and its arrows never missed. Where Apollo struck from the sky like a plague, Artemis struck from the wild like a predator. Mortals, monsters, even giants fell to her aim. She didn't need divine strength or thunder. She just needed one clean shot. And she never needed more than one. Achilles' Spear. Called the Pelion Ash, cut from an ash tree on Mount Pelion by the centaur Chiron. This spear was so heavy that no Greek warrior other than Achilles could even lift it. In the Trojan War, every thrust was a death sentence. No soldier could block it. No armor could withstand it. It wasn't magical. It wasn't divine. It was simply so perfectly wielded that it didn't need to be. The armor of Achilles. When Achilles refused to fight in the Trojan War, his closest companion Patroclus took his place, wearing his armor. Hector killed him, stripped the armor, and wore it as a trophy. Achilles didn't mourn. He was broken. Hephaestus forged a new set by mourning. The shield depicted everything worth fighting for, and everything Achilles would never live to see. He put it on, walked onto the battlefield, and killed Hector. This armor wasn't forged for protection. It was forged for revenge. The Bow of Paris. Paris was not a great warrior. His bow was ordinary, nothing divine about it. But the god Apollo guided his arrow to the one spot where Achilles was vulnerable. His heel. One shot, one arrow. The greatest warrior in Greek mythology fell. It's the most famous kill in all of mythology, and it wasn't the weapon that made it legendary. It was proof that even the weakest weapon becomes unstoppable when a god is behind it. The Shield of Ajax. 7 layers of ox hide bound in bronze. Less a piece of armor and more a piece of architecture. Massive enough to cover a man from head to ankle. Achilles was the Greeks' greatest weapon. Ajax was their unbreakable wall. When Troy advanced, he became a moving fortress. He didn't need to cut enemies down. He just had to stop them. And no one ever did. Perseus's Harpe. A curved sickle sword of adamantine, the hardest metal ever forged, given to Perseus for one purpose, to kill Medusa, the Gorgon whose gaze turned the living to stone. He entered her lair unseen, guided only by reflection. A mirrored shield for sight and the harp for the strike. One weapon, one purpose, one swing, and it was done. Heracles Club and Bow. The club was raw power. an olive tree torn from the earth by Heracles himself. No forge, no craft, just strength. But the bow was something else. After slaying the Lernaean Hydra, he dipped every arrow in its venom. A single scratch meant death without a cure. Those poisoned arrows outlived him and went on to shape the fate of the Trojan War. He died, but his weapons kept killing long after he was gone. The Forge of Hephaestus. Not a weapon, but the source of nearly every weapon on this list. The Thunderbolt of Zeus, the armor of Achilles, the Aegis, all forged in the same volcanic fire. But he didn't just make weapons. He built golden handmaidens with minds of their own, bronze giants to guard entire islands, and self-moving tripods that served the gods. He never fought a single battle. He didn't need to. Every god who did carried his work. Kronos' Scythe, the oldest weapon in Greek mythology. Gaia forged it from adamantine and gave it to her son Kronos for one purpose: to castrate his father Uranos. One swing separated heaven from earth. The blood that fell birthed the Furies, the giants, and Aphrodite. This weapon didn't start a war. It began the cycle of violence that defines Greek mythology. Every conflict on this list traces back to that single swing, the head of Medusa. Even in death, she remained a weapon. Her severed head turned any who gazed upon it to stone. Perseus used it to slay a sea monster and petrify a king, but its journey didn't end there. Athena mounted the head onto her Aegis, turning the most feared shield in mythology into something truly terrifying. Medusa was killed by a hero, but her power was never destroyed. It simply changed hands. In death, her gaze became more lethal than it ever was in life. Pandora's jar. Not a sword, not a spear, but the most devastating weapon the gods ever created. Zeus commissioned it as punishment after Prometheus stole fire from mankind. When Pandora opened the jar, disease, suffering, and death poured out, along with every human misery. Only hope remained trapped inside, and some argue that was the cruelest part. The gods didn't need armies or divine arrows. They just needed a jar, and we did the rest.